Hello everyone, and welcome to another Top 5 Records video. It is time to talk about the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. And now there have been loads of videos about Elvis Presley. We talk about the voice, the rock and roll, the influences, the movements. The Baz Luhrmann film clearly depicts the tension that Presley gave within an audience. But I think we talk too little about his albums, and although he's not generally considered an album artist, I think it is worthwhile to take a look at what he produced on vinyl, because he made some incredible albums, and though not everything was recorded in the same session or has a coherent vision, I think there are loads of beautiful records that give us a beautiful piece of Elvis Presley. So what are his 10 best albums? And without further ado, I'll kick off this list. At number 10, His Hand in Mine. This is a 1960 record by Elvis Presley, and this is, as a matter of fact, a coherent session by Elvis Presley. Also an odd one out to start with, I know that, and often overlooked by music fans because somehow gospel, and this is a gospel record, is often one of those genres that we tend to look away from. And I understand, not all gospel has a great quality control. A lot of the gospel fans just want the praise of Jesus or God and don't look beyond that. But I think some of the beautiful treasures in the world of music can be found within the world of gospel. And this is one of those examples. Presley, a religious man, raised with gospel influences, just had to record a gospel album. And this is different from the Little Richard gospel period. Little Richard, who in, I believe, 1959 said goodbye to rock and roll because it was the devil's music, and he focused only on gospel records, and he made some good songs as well. Elvis Presley knew how to combine those. This is his ode, and honestly, you do not have to be religious. I am not a religious man to deeply love and enjoy this record. First of all, there's a coherence, and I like that. I like to hear that in an Elvis Presley record. Second, his voice sounds so soothing, so smooth, so friendly. I think the element of worshiping in gospel, different from the soul element there, but the element of worshiping, the element of being humble, can change the voice. You hear it with Little Richard, and you hear it with Elvis, and that is gorgeous. At number 10, His Hand in Mine from 1960. And this is a big move in time to the number 9. I'm gonna put a live album here. Elvis as recorded at Madison Square Garden. Why this on number 9? I think this record is the perfect insight into his 70s period. Often falsely portrayed with the last years of his life, the fat Elvis, and there's this fatigue, and you often have to think about, at least I do, about that image of him with a big paper cup with Coca-Cola, singing You Were Always on My Mind in one of his final performances. There's an element of tragedy to that, and you would almost think that the white suit Elvis is that, but it's not. It is a showman. He is a showman that goes beyond plain rock and roll. There are other genres here. There's gospel, there's pop, late 60s pop. There's an American identity to it. And if you listen to this record, opening with the Also sprach Zarathustra, I'm so bad at pronouncing it, but also known as the theme from 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is this beautiful, bombastic introduction. And then we get into That's All Right. Whoa, nice rock and roller. Proud Mary, nice cover. Loads of songs here. It's filled with short, under the 2-minute songs. Love Me, All Shook Up, Heartbreak Hotel, Teddy Bear, Don't Be Cruel, Love Me Tender. Then side 2 has Hound Dog, Suspicious Minds. That's really nice. A Mickey Newbury song, The American Trilogy. I think that's one of the highlights of this record. And an ending with Can't Help Falling in Love and I Can't Stop Loving You. Man, this is a powerhouse of an Elvis Presley performance, and this is the way I want to remember Elvis in the 70s. What a grand, beautiful performance. And number 9, Elvis live in Madison Square Garden. At number 8, another one of his rare coherent recorded records. Elvis Is Back. His return from the army, and a beautiful, beautiful record. As an entirety, when you put this on, you feel an energy and a vibe coming from Elvis, saying goodbye to the 50s, welcoming the 60s. Not his most spectacular decade, the 60s, but he still made beautiful stuff there. And most noticeably, beyond the quality of this record, what I'm holding here is a 45 RPM analog production. So these are 2 pieces of vinyl. And this is one of those rare occasions in which the quality of Elvis Presley's voice is just mesmerizingly, beautifully reflected on a pressing. If you coincidentally find one, or find one not too expensive, this is worth it. What an experience. At number 8, Elvis Is Back from 1960. At number 7, a record that I sadly do not have in my collection yet. I'm looking for a good American pressing. But it is That's the Way It Is. That's the Way It Is. This is a beautiful record from 1970, and it's often confused with the concert film by the same name. And some people think that it's a soundtrack album. It is not. It has songs from that film, but it contains a lot of studio recordings that are in the most pristine quality. It's the soulful, white, grand Las Vegas soulful Elvis on his most quality, tasteful, and it was such a pleasure to hear that. Great album. It ends off with a beautiful rendition of Bridge Over Troubled Water, the Paul Simon, or should I say Simon and Garfunkel song, because they were the original performing artists, though written by Paul Simon. He does a beautiful version of it, owns it, and the entirety of that record, opening with I Just Can't Help Believing, really good, is worthwhile. So at number 7, That's the Way It Is. At number 6, I had to include this here. It's the Christmas album. And call me sentimental, but I think that not only is this one of the best Christmas albums, whenever I put this on, I'm straight going into Christmas sentiment. I also think these are some of his best vocal performances. Side 1 is great fun. Side 1 contains Santa Claus Is Back in Town. I really like the playfulness he has there. Here comes Santa Claus. Here come, that. It's his. He keeps it small and playful. And I love that. His version of White Christmas nails it. I mean, that's a tough song to sing because you cannot top Bing Crosby, and the sentiment and warm feeling of that song and the melancholical element there, it mostly allows for one direction to make that song worthwhile. There are songs that work on many different ways, and the interpretation of the artist says as much about the artist as about the song, and you can go loads of different directions. White Christmas, I can't say only has one direction, though, yeah, it has perhaps one direction. Willie Nelson made it his own, but perhaps it's a byway, it's not a different direction. Presley goes in the same direction, and he nails it. He nails it. One of those tough songs. I want to do a video about the interpretations of White Christmas, perhaps this Christmas. So if you'd like to see that, leave a comment below, because I'm doubting if it's right for the channel, though I think I would really love to do that. White Christmas, then Here Comes Santa Claus. That was the one I was singing earlier. That's not the opening track. I'll Be Home for Christmas. The way he, the sentiment in that version, I'll be home for Christmas. I mean, his dynamic is so good. He has so many ways of phrasing, of giving, holding back, taking, and doing that at the moment you do not expect it. Later on, people sort of parody, but his control in that regard is so much wider than anyone can parody, because he is looking for a way to make it emotional and personal, and he was so skillful in doing that. It's more than just a beautiful voice and good technique. It is the quality of telling a story and to get the most out of the lyrics and of the understanding and of the emotion. He was so truly fine in that. Blue Christmas, stunning. I think that's a stunning song. And Sandy, Bring My Baby Back to Me, it's fun. But I'll Be Home for Christmas and Blue Christmas, those are at the top of ballad game. Now, side 1 is great. Side 2 is the more religious Christmas side, which he also nails. So Christmas gospel, I can't fully say it's a gospel side too, but there are gospel influences there. Like There Will Be Peace in the Valley for Me, which makes your heart melt. Silent Night is so good. Oh Little Town of Bethlehem, I Believe, and Take My Hand, Precious Lord. Yeah, the rest of side 2 is the gospel side, is the gospel element here, but yeah. Isn't it gorgeous? Isn't it beautiful the way Elvis Presley does gospel? At number 6, the Christmas album. At number 5, if you're looking for trouble, the Comeback Special from 1968. I love the history of this show. Colonel Parker, and I think a lot of the people, I'm not sure if everyone who's watching knows this, but for those who don't, I assume a lot of people do, but for those who don't, a big part of the career of Elvis Presley was Colonel Parker, a very smart manager who was shaping Elvis's career, but who also thought or tried or did control Elvis, and it took freedom away from Elvis. And in the mid-60s, Elvis was at a spot that Colonel Parker enjoyed. He was family friendly, and family friendly gives you the biggest audience. But Elvis desired more rock and roll. So what did Colonel Parker do? He organized or produced or co-produced a NBC TV special, the big Elvis Presley special. And he would play a lot of Christmas songs, family songs. Elvis, family friendly on TV. Now Elvis got talking with the director of the show, and the director felt Elvis was my rock and roll hero. Where is my rock and roll hero? I want my rock and roll hero back. And Elvis felt the same. He wanted to be the rock and roll guy again. He wanted to wear leather and be a tough guy. So secretly, they started working on rock and roll songs and a rock and roll special. And Colonel Tom Parker was furious. At the last moment, he said, if you do not play a Christmas song, you'll be in trouble, man. So this record has one Christmas song, Blue Christmas, which he nails, by the way, But this one opens with Trouble. So good. Trouble, guitar, man. We get some dialogue as well. We get Heartbreak Hotel, Hound Dog, Oh, Shook Up, Can't Help Falling in Love, Jailhouse Rock, Love Me Tender. This is all the Elvis Presley that you love, and he's energetic. He's firing up. He's returning to his stage. We got the final song is so emotional. If I Can Dream, it's one of his best performances ever. And that comeback special, this comeback special, amazing. Immediately after the video, I'm going to put this on. This is good stuff. At number 5, the comeback special. At number 4, his second album from 1956, Elvis. What I love about this is the young, raw, if you can say, Elvis. Beautiful voice. Doing songs like Rip It Up, Love Me, Long Tall Sally, a Little Richard cover, So Glad You're Mine. This is an original pressing from 1956. I was happy to find it. And I never really got into this record until I found this old pressing. And this brings you so close to that young, refreshing, energetic core of rock and roll. Sometimes you need to get to the core to realize that the hype really did start at something that still you do not see. I mean, something like this. It's not happening today. I love it. At number 4, Elvis Presley's Elvis. At number 3, I'm going to put perhaps a controversial choice because I tend to stay away from compilation albums. But this video is not complete without one specific compilation album. And I'll tell you why. It's this. It's the 24 karat hits. And I'm not talking about any or CD pressing of this record. If you can find a Analog Productions 45 RPM of this, it may become your most treasured Elvis Presley collection. Why? Because this collection of songs, chronologically placed, all comes directly from the master tape. I believe the master tape of the singles even, but I'm not too sure about that. They collected all these master tapes, which is a hell of a lot of work. It's more work than when you have one record, so one master tape. They had to go to all the master tapes of the original songs. And they did the most astonishing transfer to vinyl. There is nothing in the way of hearing the full spectrum of the voice of Elvis Presley on songs like, opening with the mono versions, of course, of Heartbreak Hotel, Love Me, Don't Be Cruel, Hound Dog, A Big Hunk of Love, All Shook Up, Teddy Bear, Jailhouse Rock. I mean, the hairs on your neck will stand up when you hear that power in this quality. Side 3, the second record, goes to stereo with Love Me Tender, Are You Lonesome Tonight, Marie's the Name of His Latest Flame, Can't Help Falling in Love, Return a Sender, You're the Devil in Disguise, Crying in the Chapel, In the Ghetto, Suspicious Minds. All these songs in an astonishing quality. Trust me, this needs to be here because it has the most perfect reproduction of what Elvis did in the studio. At number 3, 24 karat hits. At number 2, from Elvis in Memphis. Right after the comeback album, Elvis went into the studio. He was one of the biggest names in American music. Again, he got new record contracts and he was fresh and exciting. And he made this beautiful, coherent studio record with songs like In the Ghetto, Power of My Love. Really great, beautiful. As you can see, the cover even reflects the NBC special. This is one of the biggest achievements of Elvis Presley in the studio. At number 2, from Elvis in Memphis. And I'm looking for a good American pressing. So if it's because I still haven't found the right sounding version. I had the one step, not too happy with that. I have the Speaker's Corner, which is better, but we're not there yet. This is the first German one. It's good, but I want to hear this in the best way possible. At number 2, from Elvis in Memphis. Number 1, the legendary, the iconic debut. This to me is the core of Elvis Presley. opening with the Carl Perkins song, Blue Switch Shoes. Then we go to I'm Counting on You. Another cover here, I Got a Woman, the Ray Charles cover, which is... so many great songs. Tutti Frutti, a Little Richard cover. Blue Moon. What makes it special? It is the entrance of Elvis Presley into the world. And the beautiful, mesmerizing quality of this record is that the impact it had then, that the world heard a young man, a white young man sounding like a black rock and roll or soul artist with a fury and a dynamic that was unheard of, a charisma on this picture, and it's also audible in his voice. When you put this record on, you still hear that. It's not as if the years or the coming of the Beatles or the coming of anybody took that away. That magic runs still in these grooves. So at number 1, Elvis Presley. So I'm curious, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.